Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk a little bit about having introverted intuition as a third slot function. Now, some of what I'm going to say could theoretically apply to having introverted intuition as a fourth slot function as well, though I think that the problems that arise from low introverted intuition is different, and sometimes significantly different, between having it as a third slot issue versus a fourth slot. So for ISFPs and ISTPs, the NI, or introverted intuition, is going to be in the third slot. And I had an incident come up a couple of days ago that really got me thinking about this issue. So first, I'm going to share that incident with you and then kind of talk through what it got me to thinking. So I was doing DoorDash, because I've been doing that lately, and I received an order to go to Taco Bell. And so initially I'm starting to drive to Taco Bell, and then I'm thinking thinking to myself, okay, I have to drive to Taco Bell. And then I've got to go, I've got to park, and I've got to go inside, and I've got to, okay, this is what I'm going to have to do. When I get inside, I've got to go up to the counter, and I've got to, talk to the people, and this is what I need to tell them. And then I got to make sure that I do this. And I'm thinking through like 5 or 6 steps down the road. Okay. And it's stressing me out so badly. And my extroverted sensing really had to take over and be like, hey, dummy, live in the now. You don't need to do 5 or 6 steps. Not right now, you don't. Right now, the only job that you have is drive to Taco Bell. When you get to Taco Bell, then you'll have a new job, which is go inside. And when you get inside, then you'll have another new job, which is, whatever. With extroverted sensing being high, I am good at, and all high extroverted sensing people are going to be good at going with the flow or moving in the moment, figuring out the best way to get whatever it is that needs to be done in the moment, improvising, changing, adapting, whatever. It's fine. It's not a problem. Where I get stressed is not when I find myself in a particularly unknown situation and have to figure out how to adapt. That doesn't particularly stress me. I think that would stress someone with low extroverted sensing or no extroverted sensing. It would probably stress them a lot. But for me, it doesn't stress me to have to figure out what to do in the moment. What stresses me is when I try to plan out what I am going to have to do when the moment arrives. I have trouble thinking through, okay, these are the steps that I need to take. And even when I am capable, and I often am capable of figuring out, okay, I'll need to do this and this and this and this and this in this order, even though I may be able to do that, it still is a great stressor for me to even think about it. So with introverted intuition as a third function, that's very much, introverted intuition is very much a planning the future for one's self function. But as a third function, it's operating like a child, not necessarily like an infant, but like a young child, maybe even a teenager. And so it's not necessarily the most adept at doing what it does. It's not completely incompetent in the third slot by any stretch. But when it has to do what it does, it often becomes stressed about it. And so for me, what helped me in that moment, and what has helped me so many times in my life, is to remind myself to just do what's next. I don't need to plan 5 steps ahead or 20 steps ahead. I don't need to plan next week or next month or next year. These things are situations that, while planning for them may contain a nugget of wisdom, for me, it also contains a ton of stress. And because it will not stress me to just move or adapt in the moment, usually to any great degree, I'm oftentimes better off for my own mental well-being to just let things unfold as they will and deal with them as they happen. to not spend too much time thinking about the future or what steps I will need to take to accomplish a certain task, because I will be able with my extroverted sensing to figure it out as I go. Now, I say all that, and then I'm going to flip the coin a little bit and say there is wisdom in having a plan. And so for those people who have NI as their top slot function or their second slot function, and they obsess over planning perhaps, or they plan regularly or plan well for themselves and sometimes for those around them, there can be a great deal of wisdom found in that. From my perspective, I look at that and say, but you have no idea what is going to happen along the way that will derail your plan, things that you cannot possibly foresee. And so what is the point of spending time planning for things that probably will not be able to be played out in the method or the manner that you see them being played out in your mind? So for me to think ahead like that is a great deal, it produces in me a great deal of stress or anxiety. And just going with the flow allows me to feel much more free and relaxed. Now, there are times when I want to know certain details about what I'm about to get into. So before I did DoorDash, I did read a lot about it, and I listened to or I watched YouTube videos of other people doing it. I didn't need to know the every little situation I was going to find myself in, but I did want to understand the general concept of how everything worked. There were certain details that I did want to know. But again, that's not necessarily specific planning. That's just understanding the situation that I'm about to walk into as best as I can. And then I'll go with the flow once I get there. Then I'll adapt, I'll adjust, I'll make changes on the fly when I find myself in that situation. So if you have third slot introverted intuition, I am certainly not suggesting to you never plan. But I am saying that when you find yourself stressed because you are trying to plan in your mind and you are finding your blood pressure rise in that situation, just remember, you'll be able to figure it out when you go. And you don't need to know every little detail of everything you're about to do. The INJs, they probably do need to know all those details, and it will be a stress to them if they don't. But for you with introverted intuition as your third function, it's sometimes it's going to be more of a stress to you if you take the time to try to think about it and figure it out. So it's okay to just let that go and just wade into the water and find out what happens and figure it out as you go, because that's what you're wired for. If you have high extroverted sensing and low introverted intuition, you're wired to do that. You are wired to just sort of jump in and find out what happens and make the necessary changes as you go. Now, I think for people with introverted intuition as the fourth function, this will differ a little in that I see introverted intuition coming out in the fourth function as almost a paranoia at times, almost a fear of the future. I think sometimes the ESFPs or ESTPs might avoid thinking about the future because it's more terrifying to them than it is a stress to them, because it's so unknown, because there's so little ability for them to think through or plan out what it is all going to turn out to be. And they are even better at making adjustments in the moment and dealing with the situation as it comes than the ISFPs and the ISTPs will be. Nonetheless, regardless of where your introverted intuition is, if it's second or, whether it's third or whether it's fourth, you are going to find yourself probably more stressed than not if you try to think about and plan out your future. And so while, again, wisdom at times dictates that you do, at other times, I believe it's okay to just let go of that thought process and say, I'm just thinking about what I'm doing now. I heard someone say one time, when you're stressed or when you're overwhelmed by all the things that there are to do, just do what's next. So for me that day, it was just drive to Taco Bell. That was what was next. Drive to Taco Bell. When you get there, park. That'll be what's next. Then go in. Now, normally, by the way, taking these runs doesn't stress me at all. I love the freedom. I love the unknownness of the moment. But for whatever reason that day I was focusing heavily on, okay, I've got to do this, and then I'm going to have to do this, and then I'm going to have to do this, and it really stressed me out. So food for thought for you, ISFPs and ISTPs, or even perhaps some ESFPs and ESTPs can find some wisdom in this. And if you are not one of those, maybe you can look at those people in your life that are these types, and you can say, maybe you're an INJ and you're annoyed by how little the ISFP in your life does any planning at all. Maybe you can see, think through these things and realize that for them, all of that planning is more of a stress and oftentimes seen as a waste of time because they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So why plan for the day after tomorrow? And if you benefit from this video in any way, if you found it useful, entertaining, informational, would you please click the like button? Please subscribe if you have not already done so. And if you are benefiting from this channel and would like to donate financially to what I'm trying to do here, I would greatly appreciate that. And there will be a link in the description below where you can do that. And thank you to everyone who has donated. It is much appreciated. Have an awesome day. Bye now.